Yeah.
Right.
So now you can start your screen share and you can start the presentation so that we can discuss more later soon.
Okie dokie. I will share my screen, get my PowerPoint up. Yeah, basically, excellent. You can see everything now. So, yeah, my name is Robert Laird. As Javier said, thank you very much for organising another one of these good events. So I'll be talking about, as I say, creating a better world with biochar, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. Carbon offset zone, we offset carbon footprints and for voluntary and compliance markets. We also have technologies. My history for over 10 years is in biochar and technology. So that's what this presentation is all about. So this is fighting global warming with fire. The carbon cycle we'll start with. Just, I know some of you already know about it, but just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Carbon present in the atmosphere is absorbed by plants during photosynthesis, and some of these plants are then consumed by animals, and the carbon gets assimilated into their bodies. When these animals and plants die, carbon is released back into the atmosphere during the decomposition. That's the normal natural cycle, and that's carbon neutral. Some of the carbon that's not released back into the atmosphere eventually becomes stored as fossil fuel. If these fossil fuels are then burned for man-made activities, they release more carbon back into the atmosphere, causing the greenhouse effect, which is carbon positive, which we know as global warming. The biochar cycle, on the other hand, the same plants and animals can die, but if they're pyrolyzed in a unit like ours, then 50% of the carbon is captured, stored for a long time. And this helps reduce the atmospheric carbon in the atmosphere. This is carbon negative. Some of the other products, apart from the biochar, syngas and bio-oil, wood vinegar, we use all of those products, which is better than releasing them back into the atmosphere. So overall, there's a net reduction in atmospheric CO2. Pyrolysis, again, some of you already know everything about this, but just talking to the masses, pyrolysis is the thermal decomposition of biomass in the absence of oxygen. The flammable gases that are released are then cooled and reintroduced into the firebox, and that drives the process. The liquid fraction is also collected and used later. We use it as a pest deterrent, a biostimulant, an accelerant. There's many uses. What remains is biochar, which is mostly carbon. That is carbon negative. This is a little graphic showing a tree. It draws down carbon from the atmosphere. We put it into the machine. We capture the liquids. We use the flammable components to drive the process. So no fossil fuels are used, no electricity is used, not even a battery. So it's just using the waste to drive itself. This creates biochar, which is a stable form of carbon, and then we return that back into the ground. This grows more plants, sucking down more carbon from the atmosphere, and so the cycle continues. A lot of people who already know about biochar, in the literature, it all talks about 7,000 years of storage capacity, at least. Being Australian, I know better because we have the oldest living culture in the world in Australia. The Aborigines, that culture is 70,000 years old, and their cooking sites where they've caught fish, they cook it next to the river with a fire. So there's man-made charcoal left. That charcoal ends up over time buried in the ground, and scientists, geologists, and archaeologists, anthropologists. They've all studied Australian soils and found these, what they're called middens, where the Aboriginal people have been cooking on. And there's carbon found in the ground that dates back 70,000 years in this country. And that's man-made charcoal. So that's a game changer for the biochar industry. Let's not bother talking about 7,000 years. That's nothing. 70,000 years can be proven. So this is going to be a little short video, which will tell you a little bit more about what we do. It'll show some of the machines that I've designed, and they're being sold and built all over the world. There's one running somewhere in the world at all times. And here we go. You can ask questions at the end.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for your quick presentation. Is it finished?
No.
Biochar release.
So now there's a picture of biochar under an electron microscope. This is grapefruit, just a branch from grapefruit tree. And as you can see, it's peppered with lots of tiny little holes that not only draw water in, but also hold microbes. They house microbes, and the microbes multiply when they're happy. They move in, and every 24 hours, there's 10 times as many as there was the day before. The microbes themselves help move nutrients around, which, when it's around the roots, makes the soil around the roots much more fertile. Mycorrhizal fungi also grows through biochar, which also helps transport nutrients to the plants. Certainly, when used with wood vinegar, this is a picture of a couple of different samples that I've collected in my unit. Some of them are just mixed species, some of them are specific to one species at a time. One of those is even municipal solid waste, done pallets, that sort of thing. So you can use anything. I've done animal bones as well. It all makes charcoal. If it was ever alive, it'll become charcoal. Wood vinegar is almost unknown in the Western world, but it's a fantastic product with hundreds of potential uses. One of the exciting things for me is it brings down the cluster value of water, which means it makes the water runnier. So where it would normally have a ball of water sitting that can't penetrate a small hole, with the addition of a tiny little bit of wood vinegar, it will run a lot easier and be drawn up by the plants much more effectively, making the effectiveness of the fertilizer even better. So you need less fertilizer if you're using wood vinegar as well. So that's an exciting move. It's also being used in animal husbandry in place of antibiotics. It's an organic product, and that's better for human health. If the animal ends up being consumed by humans, we don't have to take on those antibiotics, weakening our own immune systems. It also goes a very long way. It's usually diluted approximately 200 to 1 with water, even up to 500 to 1 in some applications. So it's a magic product in itself, and it's certainly worth collecting. So that's it for my slideshow. We've got a bit of time, I believe, so I'm happy to answer any questions anybody else has, and I'm happy to talk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Robert Laird. So, is there any questions on this presentation? Robert Laird gave his presentation about his mobile pyrolysis units and his products like wood vinegar, biochar, and other. So, is there any questions or any inquiries about this? He's happy to answer if any questions.
If you come up with a question later, you can always contact Carbon Offset Zone. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's fine.
Yeah, 2 more presentations are there so that we can discuss about this later. So our next presenter will be